Dun, dun, dun. And we are live. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to Transform Your Relationships Live. I'm Laura Rubenstein here with Dr. Roberta Shaler. Hi, Roberta.
Hello, Laura, and Happy New Year!
Woo! We are magical today. Welcome. It's always a fun time together here, and we like starting the new year with everyone with something very New Year's-y. Intentions and how to stick to them and not quit on them, and what are you intending. And hopefully if you didn't have an intention by the end of today, you will have more clarity on what your intention is, and mostly how to keep them, because usually most people go in and say this is it's a fresh energy, there's so much possibility this year, and then sometimes that wanes rather quickly. So what do you think, Roberta? Can we stick to these intentions?
Well, I think everybody likes a fresh start, like you're saying, Laura, and it's exciting. I know for me, I have a back to school mentality. I want all my fresh pens and all my fresh books and everything like fresh start. And if I make a mistake on the first page, I rip it up and start again. That's the way I approach it, and it's great. It's hopeful and it's wonderful and it's optimistic and it's positive. And yet we're so hard on ourselves that the first time we make a mistake or we don't do what's on the list, we just kind of lose hope, it seems. And I had a funny thing on my Facebook page the other day. A woman wrote, she said, "Oh, I've already blown my New Year's resolution, so better luck in 2020." And, and I thought,
Ooh, that was
well,
fast.
how about better luck in the next hour? Because the thing is that we're human and life intervenes, and we can have these wonderful intentions, but we need to stay focused and we need to stay positive that we can start again and start again and start again and get traction. And don't have the idea that, like, gotta do all this. I think I've talked before on their show, Laura, about I wrote a little book called Pack Your Own Parachute. And in there, I talk about these things called TTDCs. That if we want to be successful, we have to have TTDCs. And you can't eat an elephant all at once. You've got to eat it spoonful by spoonful. So you have to break down these goals that we have into TTDCs. And that stands for teeny tiny doable chunks.
I love that.
Yeah. So if we're kind to ourselves and we want ourselves to actually succeed, then we have to give ourselves permission to work in teeny tiny doable chunks. And when we do it, yay. And if we don't, keep on doing it.
That reminds me, I wrote a book called Transform Your Body in the Mental Gym, and I would help people really transform their bodies, lose weight, get into better habits, exercise more, eat less. And I started out the book with Dean Krantz's "Failure is not an option."
Right.
And the other thing I let people know is when you're on a trip on an airplane from one coast to the other, or from wherever to wherever, say you're going from where we are, San Diego to New York, and the airplane does not go in a straight line. It actually is going off course 96% of the time. But what is it doing? It's making those teeny tiny doable course corrections. And so it's actually going like this. And that's what it is to live life. It is not about, we're not machines, we're not robots doing the same thing over and over again to get to the goal. It's about learning, evolving, growing, exploring. It's about the journey, not the destination. Although a lot of people love the destination, that's always a great high. But then you look back and you relish the experience of all the course corrections you had to make. So it's normal if you're off course. It's something to celebrate, almost, to say, oh my God, I recognized I'm off course. This is
Right.
good news. That means I can get on course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really good addition. I mean, TTDCCCs, teeny tiny doable chunks and course corrections. Uh,
There we go.
but the point is so well taken about the airplane. I mean, the same thing is true of ships. We just don't set a target and go directly to that target unless we're a well shot arrow, I guess. But we know generally where we're headed, and we know specifically where we'd like to get. And the path may be a little crooked and winding, and life may intervene, and we may get stopped for a moment or two or a month or two. But that doesn't mean it's not a worthy goal. It doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile intention. It just means, oh, I think I better pick myself back up and face in that direction again. And we're so hard on ourselves, so I think that the conversation is not so much about willpower, but about confidence and belief in ourselves, right? Because we have this as willpower, like we're going to force ourselves to do something. Well, we're not good at that. We're really just not good at that because we don't like to be forced to do something. And so we prefer to realize it's a choice. So we have to keep reminding ourselves that, no, I'm choosing this. Like back in the day when I was quite young, and I was wanting to lose weight after having a baby. And I remember I was in a restaurant and the woman said, would you like to order dessert? And I said, no, I'm choosing not to have dessert just now. And I felt like, yay, I've got something to say that reminds me that I'm choosing not to have dessert right now. It's not being taken away from me, and I'm not being forced not to have dessert. This is a choice I'm making because I have a worthy goal. And I think that's something that we can all benefit from.
And so when we recognize that there's an opportunity to course correct or take that doable, teeny tiny doable action, it's about making a choice. You're at choice at that moment. And
Yeah.
I love the word confidence. First of all, it's clarity, like, oh my gosh, I have a choice. And then the confidence to take it. So
Mhm.
we're taking out that W word, that willpower word, and putting in the
Yeah.
confidence, clarity, and choice. The C words. We like C words today, don't we?
Yes. Yes. And especially C words that sound like K's: confidence, clarity, choice, course correction. You know, um, but all kidding aside, this is powerful stuff that we're talking about, because when we change our attitude towards changing our lives, which is what we're talking about, that's huge. It's really huge when we realize there's no big hand coming down and saying, you need to do this, you must do this, that kind of old parental idea. No, I'm embracing this because it's what I want to move toward. I'm choosing what I move toward, and these are the steps to move toward it. I have two podcasts, as everybody knows, I think, but I'm adding a third in 2 weeks, and it's called Focus on Forward: Fuel to a Fearless Future. And for us to recognize that we're constantly at choice, phones you can't turn off, right? Uh, um, that we're constantly at choice, and that we can move toward anything, but let's not live by default. Let's not live by default of, oh, what I did before. Let's live by choice about what I'd like to be doing now.
Yes, it takes just a little bit more energy to say I can make a different choice versus saying, oh well, I give up, I'm this way, it's always going to be this way, blah blah blah. Whatever the voice in the head is, it takes that just one extra, wait a minute, maybe there's something I can do about that, and live forward from the future with fearless choice. Then we can
Mm-hmm.
add the F's to today's conversation.
Yeah, well, as you can tell, the podcast is called Focus on Forward: Fuel for a Fearless Future. So,
Love it. I
you know,
love it.
but the reason I'm doing it is because my other podcasts deal with how to deal with problems and troubling relationships and crises in relationships. But for my own sense of offering, and for my own sense of what I'm up to, I wanted to do something that was focused on the positive. Like, all right, all this stuff happened before, but what can I do today and going forward? And so I think it's really pertinent to what we're talking about today, because, yeah, I may have done all those things yesterday. Maybe I slacked off. Maybe I wasn't focused. Maybe I ate a chocolate cake.
And it's okay.
It's fine, because no, you don't have to wait till Monday. You can start with the next mouthful,
Right now.
right? Yeah,
NOW.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's where we get all tripped up too, because just like the person on Facebook, well, I blew 2019 already, so we'll do 2020. People will say, well, oh, I'm not doing it. Maybe I'll start in the spring. No, don't disempower yourself. Start now. If it's a worthy goal, then it's worth doing.
Yep.
I don't know, somewhere in the 70s, late 70s, I think. Yeah, yeah, 1980 it was. I read a book. It was called The Aquarian Conspiracy. I absolutely loved the book. And then I went in 1981, I went to hear the author speak. She was a terrible speaker, but her book is brilliant. But the thing that she said when she was speaking, it's not in the book, but she asked this question, what have you ever been told by somebody that it was worth doing, it's worth doing well? And
Mm-hmm.
of course, everybody said yes, yes, yes. And then she said, well, ask yourself, if it's worth doing, isn't it worth doing half-assed? And I realized that because I had always given my kids, you want to try drum lessons? Okay, but you have to commit that you'll do it for 6 months. And if you don't like it, then you can quit. You don't have to stick with it forever, but give it a good trial. And so frequently we don't allow ourselves to do that. Like you do wonderful things. You don't know if you're going to love ceramics or not, but you go try. And if you love it, you do more of it. And if you don't love it, you try something else. Well, if you have your goals in place and you love them, then stick with them, right?
Why not? It's something you deeply desire anyway. And it also made me think about what else is in the book, Transform Your Body in the Mental Gym, about having fun. So I also like to add that element in. So how can I make this fun? If, like if it's feeling like a drag and it's draining you, but you really want it, how can you make it fun? Because if it's fun, don't do
Yeah.
it. Just find another way that makes it fun. And also, I love that you shared this quote, because another mentor of mine years ago talked about if it's worth doing, well, if it's worth doing, then it's worth doing well. If it's worth doing, then it's worth doing half-assed. But the quote he transformed that into was, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly at first,
Exactly.
right?
Because you're going to. Like you
Yes,
don't jump
like
into
you're not
the next.
born a master.
No. And if that means like being an expert at changing your food program that your mom put into your head years ago, it's going to take some course correction. Like, and you have to start saying, no, I choose this. No matter what's gone on before, I choose this. And it's tricky. But
Yes, I do recommend pre-playing in your mind and planning for obstacles. So if you have a tendency to like sugar or to go to McDonald's, pre-play in your mind that next time you walk into McDonald's, you're choosing the salad and you're like, ew, really salad? Well, what else would you choose if you have a goal of healthier eating and transforming your body and slimming down? You might choose a Diet Coke. You might choose, to throw out the French fries if you order them before you finish them, or take
yeah,
two or three and then force yourself to, okay, can I get it into the basket? Don't
no,
throw
you know
French
what?
fries around.
If
But
I really need French fries, and if any of you really need French fries, I do what Laura says. I get them. I eat 3 or 4 of them. Then I look for the closest family eating French fries and I say, would you like them? I've never had anybody turn me down because they were already eating French fries and they were just getting more of them,
right.
right?
And if you ate 5 or 6 or 10 and you did it, good for you. Even if your goal was 3, it's okay what you can do. Just, I call it building those mental muscles. It's practicing that choice,
Mhm.
exercising that choice. I have another mentor who gives an example of, okay, she had a goal to get more exercise in. And you know what she did? She put on her sneakers the first day and she said, yay, I put on my sneakers today. And then that's all she did. And it was great. And then the next day she walked out the door, but she didn't make it more than out the door. She's like, I got out the door tomorrow, or, she just did what she could do and acknowledged it instead of saying, oh, I didn't get to the gym today. It's like, no, I put
Right.
on my sneakers today. I'm
right?
on my way. Like, look for evidence of the positive. Keep encouraging yourself because that negative self-talk needs to be repatterned. Because that's the only way you're going to start doing things. It's not the only way. It's one really great way to
Yes.
help yourself get on track for where you want to go. And you
Yes.
take a step towards it, and you did something different. And that's part of building this muscle. And before you can lift, 70 pounds, you got to lift 20 pounds.
Yeah. And you might do something that gets hooked into something else. Like yesterday I was having a conversation with a friend and we hadn't spoken for a long time and I'm having trouble with my cell reception in my house. I've got internet problems. And so we had trouble, so we decided to go outside. And so we got a good connection and we went outside. And then after about 5 minutes, she said, I'm sounding like I'm out of breath, it's because I'm walking. And I said, okay, great. She said, yeah, this is really a surprise. I'm usually a couch potato, but I'm walking. And I thought, hook it into something that would be something you do anyway. When I go for a walk, I talk to my best friend. What a great thing to do. Make a
Why not?
make a deal with your friends. Like, let's go for a walk at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll just talk on our phones and get the walking in, right?
Right.
Whatever it is, we can find a way to do it if you want to, because you can, because you can find a way to not do it if you want to. So you're equally able to go in either direction.
And so it's about making conscious choices. So if you're now, when you take that bite of that chocolate cake, you're going to say, I'm consciously making this choice and I'm going to consciously choose to throw out the rest of the cake. And it's okay. It's like, again, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable to do that, but that conscious choice builds that muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where the next time the cake is offered to you, you might just take one bite. And then the next time you might say, no, not this time. And it's not necessarily linear. You might go back to taking the one or two bites, but you make that conscious choice.
Yes. And I took sugar out of my diet, and that was a conscious choice to do that. And it wasn't easy because, of course, my body is like, where's the sweets? Where's the good stuff? Um, but, once I did it, then carrots are the sweetest thing ever, right? And you start to have that transition point between, okay, I haven't had any for a week, and then you have a carrot, and you go, oh wow, and then like, oh, I could get the sweet sensation from carrots. Now you're kind of over the hump. So it's important to stick with it. The point is, if it's a worthy goal, if it really makes your heart sing to think about achieving it, then stay with it. And if you stop and start, or you have to restart, or you ate 3 chocolate cakes and you got to get back to just one,
That's
do
okay.
it. Do it
It's good.
because you matter.
For
And
what is
that's
this good is a nice thing, and how can I use this to make a good choice next? It also reminded me what you were saying. Oh man, I lost my thought. What was I thinking? It reminded me of something that we'll have to go on because it'll come back like in a half a second. And by the way, for those of you watching, if you have a question or you want to add your inspiration or you're getting inspired, please let us know in the chats. I am watching our chat.
Yeah, I hope you are getting inspired, because it is inspiring. I mean, even to just be part of our conversation can uplift you. And we hope that you join us regularly, because we do our best to uplift ourselves with our conversations. So, selfishly enough, we share that with you too. But it is important reminders to us that we can have the life that we choose, because the truth is, we're having it anyway. We're choosing it by default. So, how about being consciously choosing and reinforcing that and saying, no, I choose this. I was working with a client the other day. I have clients all over the world, thanks to this wonderful way of talking to each other. And they were saying, oh, I've got to replace that. I've got to, and it was all Sturm and Drang, and I said, no. Do you know the research actually supports that our hardwiring, our brain, finds it easier to create a new habit than to replace an old habit?
Mm-hmm.
That if we if we choose something fresh and new, that works much better for us than saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. I've got to do this." No, I'm going to do that. I choose to do that. It's a new, fresh pathway. And so I highly recommend that if you've just made, I don't, resolutions, okay, fine, whatever it is, resolutions, intentions, purposes, challenges, living by my beliefs, whatever word you like to put around it, know that you are choosing your life every moment. And then ask yourself, what am I choosing?
Mm. And that reminds me, so I did remember what I wanted to share, and it was related to research that we read in the New York Times. And it was saying that people who said, I'm not going to have any more chocolate, failed more than people who said, you know what, I'll have it in later without a specified time. I'll do it later, or maybe after dinner, or maybe after, later this evening. And then they kept delaying it, and then they didn't want it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't be so hard, like black and white. It's all about, like we're saying today, making conscious choices. And I love the idea that research is showing the patterns, like create a new way of doing this instead of trying to say, oh, I need to stop doing that. It's like, okay, well, how can I do this newly? Okay, I can take one bite and throw it away. I can actually
Mhm.
throw away a piece of
Give
cake.
yourself permission to not see that as waste.
Right.
And be generous. Take it to your neighbor. Maybe your neighbor needs to gain 10 pounds, you know?
Or not, but yeah. But so yeah, figure, think of creative options and alternatives. Where can this be be going to instead of in your mouth or,
And
you know,
one thing that really that brings up too, Laura, is that when you're going to change a habit, like you said, when you're going to get a new habit, you're going to create a new habit, go change your kitchen around. If it's a habit around food, go and change your kitchen around. Put things that are front and center that you should be eating and you want to be eating and they're on your program, and make it really hard to find the other stuff, or put it all in the basket and give it away, or move the fruit where you can see it, or whatever you need to
yeah,
do.
or those things that are in the back of your fridge, clean them out, get rid of them. That's practice in letting go of things, right? Get your
Mhm.
mind practiced in that. I like to also say, I wrote this in the book, the Transform Your Body and the Mental Gym book. Actually, I think I wrote it in a blog post afterwards, is whether you eat it or not, it all goes to waste. And it could be this waste right here. It could be out the other end, or it could be in the landfill. And by the way, food is the best thing to put in the landfill. Why? Because it's all compostable.
Yes, there you go. So don't feel badly about throwing away your food. But we're talking about food, but we could apply this to anything. If you have a business goal and you keep needing that course correction,
Hmm.
great. And one of the things that you can also do is get an accountability friend. Somebody that you say, I just need you to ask me once a week how this is going. No judgment, no nothing. I just need to know the questions coming so that I can keep it in my consciousness. And have a mastermind, have some friends, or at least one friend that knows what you're up to and will converse with you about it without any judgment or blame. You know,
Big points. Highlight that. Without
yeah.
judgment or blame, support. I also say have a cheerleader. You can call up and say, would you just remind me how great I am? I'm not feeling really good about myself right now. Right?
Right. Yeah. And don't forget to be your own cheerleader. When you're brushing your teeth in the morning, meet your eyes and say, I love you, I accept you, and I approve of you just the way you are. Mwah! Right?
You
Or,
could write it with erasable marker on your mirror too. That also.
or do it in lipstick, it'll last longer.
Yes.
But but be on your own team. That's all we're really saying here is you matter. And if you want something and it makes sense for you and you know it's the best next step and it'll make your heart sing, don't give up on it.
Mhm. Mwah. I love that, and thanks, Lakashay, for liking and commenting. She said they're great points. So we wish you a very productive and positive and powerful new year, with those intentions being fulfilled because you're making those conscious choices and you're doing what Roberta, you said teeny tiny,
Doable
doable,
chunks.
doable chunks. I love it.
And course corrections. We've expanded the concept this
Yes.
morning.
We're constantly, that's what it is to be human. Constantly course correct. You're doing it all right. Things are going to work out. Just, keep that intention in mind.
Yeah.
Go for it. And
Yes.
we will be back with you in 2 weeks. But you know what? We're always here. So message us, private message us. We love your comments. We're here to support you. You can find Dr. Roberta at forrelationshiphelp.com. You can find me at transformtoday.com.
And do come find us.
Come find us. Come read our stuff. We're here to support you, keep you going towards your goals. Thanks, Lakashay. Woo! All right. Bye for now.
Bye bye.